This is When the Fuck Did I Become Old? The fun, edgy and unapologetically honest podcast about the experiences of ageing, where, as the title suggests, nothing is off the table. I'm your host, Jo Parker.
And I'm Kev. And this week we're going to be discussing a variety of themes that have been pretty current in the press recently.
Yeah.
Around Brat-ults, cancelling your parents, and how to deal with the prospect of your child getting married.
Yeah.
So this has obviously been brought into sharp relief by a particular celebrity case, which we'll get into in a minute. But in parallel to that celebrity case, there was an article in the Sunday papers last week by a Dr. Elizabeth McCain talking about the rise of the phenomenon of Brat-ults. And what she meant by that was privileged young adults in their 20s, invariably, who are engaged in some kind of conflict with their parents, invariably in the public domain, where they decide to cut off contact with their parents and cancel them sometimes, not always, but cancel them in the eyes of the public and get into a huge media war. Now, obviously, Brooklyn's the one that started that in the last 2 weeks because it's been all over the press and even in a documentary we watched on Channel 5. But what do you think about that kind of behaviour?
No. Well, it pisses me off. So it's really difficult. It's difficult. So I'm looking at Brooklyn and I'm looking at Harry, okay, because those are two that really wound me up.
Right.
Not necessarily because they've decided to cancel their parents, because there are other superstars that have decided they're cutting off from their parents, but not brought it into the public eye. Whereas, I do understand that, Harry has been through a certain amount of trauma, and age 12 he lost his mother, and he lost her publicly, and he was made to walk behind the coffin, and he was brought up in an environment where you don't show your emotions publicly, and all of that sort of like stoic British, you never complain, never explain scenario. I get that. And if he just said that's the reason why I'm moving away from the royal family, it would have been a lot nicer in my eyes than to do what he did. And of course, then we have Brooklyn, who's recently done that to Victoria and David. And again, it must be difficult. I mean, I would never know because I haven't had that, and I never will, and neither will my children. It must be difficult to be brought up in the limelight because he's been talking about the brand Beckham, and we've seen pictures of him right from the moment he was born, and he's been highlighted all the way through that. And I understand that to a point, obviously, from an outsider's point of view. What I don't get is actually you would never be where you are now if you hadn't got those parents. You wouldn't be married to Peltz because you wouldn't have been at the events where you met her. You wouldn't have done that. Yeah. So it's like the fucking privileged, entitled children that decided that their parents have not been perfect. And that annoys me quite a lot.
And we've seen at least like half a dozen examples. I mean, you mentioned Harry, so Prince Harry's one of them. Brooklyn Beckham, obviously. Meghan Markle's kind of disconnected from her parents as well. Doesn't really acknowledge them. Macaulay
but actually,
Culkin's
in her own, in Meghan's defence, she's not my favourite person, but in Meghan's defence, it's not been as public as Harry's or Brooklyn's, and so I understand not wanting to talk to your parents. I understand that you can fall out with your family. You can't pick your family. You can fall out with your family, but in the way that they've been doing it annoys me a bit.
So the article I was reading by this psychotherapist was saying that what she's seen, even outside of the public world of these fitness people, even in her own private practice, she has seen a thing in the sort of middle to upper middle class where parents have indulged or spoiled their children, invariably motivated by some form of parental guilt, where they feel an inadequacy either because they weren't there, or they were working too hard, or they went through a difficult divorce or something, but some sort of inadequacy where they feel they've failed as a parent. So they overcompensate by indulging the children that then grow up relatively pampered, their needs invariably being met. And then when they have to introduce themselves to the real world and they don't get their way, then you get this kind of like spoilt brat kind of behaviour with an accompanying kind of deluded sense of entitlement, which unfortunately is made worse by reinforcing messages in social media. But, and some kind of complicity for the victim profile of like, oh, poor me, I've been hard done by, and that whole thing. I mean, take the 6-page article on, well, the 6-page post on Instagram that Brooklyn did. Like, that's all a bit over the top, right? Yeah,
totally. And it's a part of being an adult is setting your own boundaries and moving away from your parents, right, which happens as you grow up. It has to happen in order for you to have your own family, in order for the species to continue. It has to happen because you need to go away, be your own person, be your own adult, so you can bring up the children, etc., etc. I get that it's boundary setting and stuff, but actually what is happening is that these people who have got millions of pounds in the bank and a social platform to put it out there. Plus they've got a PR team, we know about a PR team, and they've got therapists on 24-hour dial-up if they need them. They've got all this luxury, and what they're doing is they're making that the norm. Now, most people are not in that position, and to fall out with your parents in such a big way is, one, not very grown up, because you haven't had a conversation, you haven't had any conflict with your parents in order to come to some kind of conflict resolution. Now, I get that there are parents that do not deserve any kind of conversation. The ones that have been physically and sexually abusive, or taking them out of the picture and taking the normal parent who's failed in some shape or form, I don't know, by not picking the child up after football, having forgotten them, or something, something that is human. But it shows a level of immaturity, and the fact that they haven't grown up, that they can't say to their parents, actually, no, I don't want you to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want you to be involved in my social media. In Brooklyn's case, I want my name back. I want you to take the patent off my name so I can use it myself. It's just, to put it out there on social media then becomes the norm for everybody else. And you just think, wow, where are we going with this? Cancelling parents now as well, which is just brutal.
And it's interesting that the vehicle, if you like, for making this public has been the wedding, albeit the wedding of Brooklyn and Nicola Peltz 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, it's been the wedding 4 years late that's been allegedly the crucible that ignited all of this. And he's highlighted two things in particular. There was this whole stuff about the dance allegedly that was done with him and his mum. Yeah. And the dress was the other form of conflict about Valentino versus a Victoria Beckham dress. But regardless of the truth behind any of those things, that was all kind of put out there on social media literally the day before Victoria was due to go to Emma Bunton's 50th, which was held at Soho Farmhouse.
Yay, one of your favourite places.
Well,
would be
not far from where we spent New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that they were going to Emma Bunton's 50th because one of the things again that just sort of brings up is you go, oh, hang on a minute. I'd always thought of the Spice Girls as like young girls, right? Yeah. That came on the scene when I was in my 30s. Now they're in their 50s.
I know.
They're all in their 50s, which is a bit freaky. And that got me looking at this wedding issue and the age thing. And it turns out that parents between mid-50s and early 60s, they're the ones experiencing the first marriage invariably of their eldest child.
Yeah.
And so this phenomenon of two families coming together at that age for us is a thing.
Yeah.
And what's been investigated a little bit in the documentary is that there was actually a power struggle behind the scenes in the Beckham-Peltz wedding camp. There was a power struggle behind the scenes on a variety of things, the dress, the names, who gets invited, all that kind of stuff. And that is a very real thing, right? That we've seen even in people that we know, where when your first child gets married, that's a whole new ball game, right? Because your kid is no longer a kid.
Yeah.
And is now entering into a relationship with somebody else where they're going to have kids of their own. And there's an entirely new family involved. So it's interesting that some of the challenges that we're seeing, albeit magnified in the Peltz and Beckham instance, are actually real challenges that people of our age need to think about.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky I have boys. You have girls.
Why are you lucky?
Well, because the traditional expectation is that, parents of the bride, blah, 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 get quite a hand in and possibly even pay for large chunks of the wedding ceremony, whereas there's no expectation for the father or mother of the groom. So that's me.
Done.
Off the hook, sorted. But have you given any thought at all about the prospect of either of your daughters marrying or any of the challenges that might bring up for you?
No. No.
Well, let me put some to you.
Okay, go on then.
So, first of all, you've got the issue of the partner.
Yeah.
Who is it? Who have they chosen?
Right.
Do you like them? Do you approve of them?
So I have never been put in a position where I haven't liked their partners.
Right.
Okay. Luckily, I don't know what I would do if I were in that position, if I didn't like their partners. Because, I trust my girls to choose people, nice people. And I think it's really difficult. I can't answer that. I can't answer what would I be like if one of my girls decided they were going to marry somebody I thought was a wanker. I don't know what I would do.
Then there's also the view of what do you think of their relationship? Do you think their relationship is going to last? Right? That isn't my business, is it? It isn't my business. No, it's not. But I mean, it's a potential bias, right? Because if you think, and this could equally apply to me, right, with the boys, right? But if you think that one of your offspring is going to make a commitment like that to somebody, and you really think the relationship doesn't stand a chance, that's a really difficult place to be.
It's a really difficult place, and I do think that if you actually verbalize the fact that you don't think it's going to last, you do run the risk of them not talking to you.
Right.
Because as we discussed in our Valentine's episode last week, it's important that you have an us and that you place importance on the us. And the us becomes really important. Yeah. So therefore, if we are saying that us is important, it's important then for our children's us's to be important to them and to take priority over everything else. Otherwise, what's the point? And so therefore, if you do say, I don't like them, I don't think it's going to last, you are potentially putting yourself outside.
And what about the judgment? I mean, you've by choice, you've never been married.
Yeah.
Right. And we know it's like 48% divorce rate, right? So what about that angle? Is that something where you think you would express a view or not express it?
Or whether they should or shouldn't get married.
Or whether they should or shouldn't?
No, none of my business. I genuinely, it isn't any of my business. I want my girls to be happy and successful. And I want them to be with people who care for them and make them happy. But because I don't place a huge amount of importance on marriage, I don't mind if they're not married. And if they want to get married, that's down to them if they feel that marriage is something that is for them. I mean, their father wanted to get married and he has now got a lovely wife. So it's not like it's not in their DNA. It's just not in mine.
And what about the mother's sense of loss? So another thing that you read about in this space is, and maybe this is in families that are particularly close. In families that are particularly close, some might say too close, that the fact that the child, and happens more to girls than it does to boys, marries the parent, and it happens more to mothers than it does to fathers, experience a sense of loss or a sense of grief.
I don't know.
Because they've lost that child to another partner who's going to be maybe a more important person in their life going forwards than their own parents. I don't know. But there is that thing about losing a child to a union with other people, right? That are going to be important in their life. Yeah.
So it's interesting you saying that, because I've got a girlfriend who's got a son.
Right.
And she believes that the son will spend more time when he does get married, and he's nowhere near getting married, but when he does get married, she's worried that the son will spend more time with his wife's parents than he will with her.
Right.
Because the wife always leads in terms of parenting and stuff. So she thinks that because she's a woman and her parents have been, her family have been important. She thinks that if he marries, her parents will be more important than she will be to him and to them. So it depends on where you come from, I think, on this one. I mean, I feel I have a close bond with my girls, but I don't need to see them all the time. I don't need to talk to them all the time. I don't need to be involved in their life. I let them involve me in their life when they want to. I very rarely phone up and ask questions that I'm, about their life because I think I need to, because I'm their mum and stuff like that. So we have a conversation and we will call each other, but it's not, I don't need to have.
So you're supportive of giving them space.
I'm supportive of giving them space. I've had to give them space. Absolutely. I've given them space, from when they were young, because I was a single parent. I was doing everything. I was doing both sets of parenting, and I had to go out and earn a crust. So when Paloma was 11, she was like, you come home from school, when her sister was 14. So you come home from school, you know when I'm in. So if you do want to go to a mate's house, when I finish work, let me know where you are. But you run your own schedule around when I can pick you up and when I work. So the first summer holidays, when we did that, she didn't go out very much because she was expecting me to do it. But she learned. And then when they got a job, both of them, I drove them along the bus route outside our house. One goes one way, one goes the other way. One goes to Tunbridge Wells, one went to East Grinstead. We went to cafes and restaurants and pubs along the bus route, get a job in one of that, because I won't be there all the time to pick you up and take you to work. So therefore, they learn at an early age to be independent. Didn't mean I didn't care. It just meant I couldn't do it all. Goes back to the entitled poor little rich guy. But
and the in-laws themselves, what if you don't like them?
So I haven't had a bad experience with in-laws, and I don't mean in-laws, but metaphorical. So Emmanuel's first boyfriend, Dom, who I still love, but and everybody knows that, I got on really well with his parents, and his parents and I talked openly about the relationship.
But if you look forward to
I'm hoping that I get on with the in-laws. But if I don't, does it matter? Because how many times are we going to be together? We're going to be there at key events, but we're not going to spend every weekend with the in-laws.
Not going
to be holidaying with them. No, and probably won't spend Christmas with them. So,
and what about the wedding ceremony itself, the power struggle? So in the Peltz-Beckham scenario, we had this power struggle over the wedding ceremony, over the choice of the dress, all that kind of stuff. Mother of the bride can often be quite invasive in that space. So you don't harbour any sort of bridezilla ambitions of your own.
Mumzillas. No, I mean, the only experience I've had of being a non-mumzilla is in the prom dress. So Emmanuel decided she wanted a big prom dress, and then she changed her mind, and we had a tailored one. And then Paloma decided she wanted something and she got it early, changed her mind, and then we had to adapt it. So she had a long skirt and top, and she wanted a short skirt. So we had to change the whole lot. Nothing to do with. I didn't get involved. I was a bit, hacked off that. 2 minutes before the prom, which was quite true, we had to change the style and we had to get it to something that she did like. She'd had 6 months in between the two. So not my problem. I'll do what I can to help you, but I'm not gonna make sure, I'm gonna you're choosing, it's your choice. Right. And it's a thing, your choice, you live with it type thing. If they're making, I think now as they're adults, if they're making mistakes, they've got to make mistakes, haven't they?
And so what about the other mother of the bride problem?
Which is?
Fanatical desire for grandchildren.
I don't understand that.
You haven't got one?
No, I haven't got one. And they know.
Me neither.
Yeah,
Me neither.
I know that.
But that can be a huge conflict point.
No, I know.
That could be a massive conflict point.
I know, because people are always being asked, when am I going to get grandchildren?
Where the parent becomes massively invasive about when am I going to get grandchildren. It's like, who fucking cares?
Yeah, absolutely. Mine's the opposite. Please don't give me grandchildren, because I'm enjoying my freedom, so I don't really want it. But yeah, I know there are people that decide that they want grandchildren, and then they put the pressure on, and every time you go round to your parents' house, there's that question. So then you start to avoid your parents.
I never had that pressure. Luckily, I never had any pressure.
Yeah,
I didn't even have pressure to get married.
Did she, your ex-wife, did she have pressure from her parents to have grandchildren?
That's a good question. I don't know, actually. I never asked her.
What's that say about you?
I suppose because I'd already made it quite clear I was going to
wait.
I was playing a long game there. And so, there was no negotiation on that one. But I don't remember hearing pressure from that.
Right.
Not that I recall. But I do know people who did, and I do know it became a bit of a sensitive thing.
Yeah.
So
we've fallen out over the advice that you might give to your boys about getting married. You and I have had fallouts over the fact that you probably would tell your boys not to get married.
Statistically, it doesn't seem to make much sense, no.
Well, it's also financially as well. So you think all women are out for your money and...
Well, not all, but it is a fact that 75% of those who are married, the male spouse earns more than the female spouse.
Yeah.
So that's just
I think that's changing as the Gen Z and millennials are growing, actually. But
it's changing slowly, but I mean, it's not going to flip, right? It's just not going to flip. So whoever is the most significant breadwinner is the individual exposed, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us on to the old prenup topic.
Okay.
Do you have a strong view? Because this is another parental conflict thing where some people can advise on prenups, and go, yeah, absolutely, you have to have one. Others can be like religiously against it and go, no, this is the opposite of trust. This destroys the relationship. I shouldn't need to have a prenup, blah, 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 blah. Have you got a view on that? And if you did, would you tell your kids about it or would you not? If you had a view, or would you keep it to yourself and not tell them and just be...
And so I don't have a view on it because I'm not wealthy enough to actually need a prenup. I've not got married, don't need a prenup. I have when I went into...
No, for your children.
No, but when I went into the relationship with Jean-Luc, my ex, their dad, I did do a deed of trust with him. Right. So, which is done... according to my cousin, who's a divorce lawyer, it's best done when you're in love rather than trying to sort it out at the end. And I agree with that. So if they're going to do something, they need to do it when they both love each other and they both think it's going to work forever, and then they'll be much, much better off, and things will be fairer than if they are at that point where they're divorced and they hate each other's guts. But we haven't reached the stage where they are wealthy or famous enough to need a prenup. I don't know about the men that they're going to end up, men or women that they're going to end up with. I don't know about their partners. So
I would advise, but only if you've got a wealth inequality, as you say. If the wealth input is pretty equal when you get together, it's pointless.
But the wealth input could be the same or fairly equal when you get together because he's earning, she's earning. But then it changes, it will shift, because one of them probably will have to give up work at some stage to look after the children, and then that's when that shifts. So
prenup's not going to help you with that, though. That's only going to help preserve assets that go into the marriage.
Right.
It's not going to help with generation during the marriage.
Okay.
But I'd go, if you've got wealth inequality on the way in, definitely go for it. But if not, then fine. Not a major problem.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
So before you finish,
yeah,
would you get involved in your boys' relationships? Would you tell them that you didn't like the person? Would you tell them that you didn't think it was going to last? Would you tell them to get a prenup? Would you tell them not to get married?
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah, okay. You got this 4. Would you tell them if you didn't like the relationship, the person they were in a relationship with?
Would I? That's a really good question.
You asked me.
I think I probably would.
Okay.
I probably would.
You don't like a lot of people, so why would you do that?
Well, that's true. No, I would in the scenario where I believe that there was either a degree of malevolence or a degree of mistrust, not just on, don't like the colour of their hair or whatever, but but if there was something that I thought was harmful there, malevolence, mistrust, deceit, dishonesty, whatever, then I'd totally go, it's up to you, mate, but I'm not sure that's a good call. Not sure I'd want to spend the rest of my life with that person. Have you thought about it?
So therefore you would definitely say if you thought it was going to end in divorce and not last.
Well, so the divorce thing is a different thing, right? So the divorce, I mean, it's not, I don't invent the stats, right? I mean, it just happens to be true that it's a 48% divorce rate. So you're talking the toss of a coin. Now, if you want to bother doing something which has a 50-50 probability, why would you bother? If I went down the bookies today and they said it's 50-50 on this, do you want to put 100 quid on it? I'd go, well, no. It's not in my favour. So that's just a philosophical thing, right? It's just the way it is, right? But would I get involved? The wedding itself, I really couldn't give a rat's ass. It's yours. It's your ceremony.
I don't believe
do what you want to do.
No, I don't believe that you would not get involved, because you have an opinion on everything. Yeah, you would definitely have an opinion on food, wine, venue.
No, it's not my choice. It's not my choice. So
you just picture
the only time I would get involved would be if I was paying.
Okay.
Right? Because if you pay, you say.
Yeah.
Right? It's not your money. Like, so when I got married, my parents didn't put a dime in, right? Nor did the parents of the bride, by the way. So, and I was quite happy with that. Yeah. I was like, no, it's my ceremony.
Mine,
I'll
not
pay.
Ours.
Thanks very much. Well, she'd already been married once, so she's already had
That's
one.
That's
mine.
mine.
But it was my first one. I hadn't been married before.
Yeah.
So, so it was very definitely no external input. But no, if the boys get married, up to you, right? But if you're going to do it and you want to organise it and you want to pay for it, great. Do what you like. It's entirely your choice. I really don't mind.
Okay. Interesting. Let's watch this space.
Well, yeah. So I think in terms of all the complexities that exist around the things you may have to come across or you may have to consider when your offspring get married and how you enter into that power play.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of stuff, and I think we would conclude in our own personal viewpoint that you kind of need to allow them a degree of freedom.
You do.
You kind of need to allow them a degree of freedom.
Well, in our opinion, I definitely agree with you.
You kind of need to keep your nose out a little bit.
You do.
And give them some space and respect their choices. Yeah. Really. So there you go. That's our view for this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be back next week with something else.
Haven't decided what to record yet.
Next week's we've got a guest. Or I've got a guest.
Ooh, okay. Cool. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Bye.
Cheers.